Thank you so much for inviting me today to speak in front of all of you. Thank you especially to Kara and everyone at the Economic Security Project. Thank you also to Dorian Warren and especially Marisol Bayo at Community Change. I started as a writing fellow at Community Change in August of 2015. I was one of only 4 fellows at the time, and that number has grown to 40 last year and is currently at 17. When I began, I not only had no idea what a fellowship entailed, I didn't really know how to be a journalist. I was just relieved to get a stipend that I could budget for, that could pay my rent at low-income housing and supplement the low amount I received in food stamps. Marisol, who I still refer to as my boss, since I still like to consider Community Change as where my freelancing heart resides, mentored me not only in how to write op-eds, but how to publish the words, "I'm on food stamps," in a national platform, which, I will humble brag that it was in The Guardian. Marisol and I had a weekly check-in every Monday afternoon and usually spoke for more than an hour. In her caring and journalistic way, she got me to talk about my life over the last decade of struggling to get by. Several outlets recently said my fall into poverty began with an unexpected pregnancy, but I have a hard time seeing it that way. My daughter didn't learn to walk in a homeless shelter because I'd chosen to bring her into the world. She took those first steps on that dirty, tiled floor because I'd just escaped an abusive relationship with only a couple $100s. Because my family had turned their backs on me or couldn't help us. Because I simply couldn't find work. And because I couldn't find work, a grant for childcare wasn't obtainable. You see, I needed to obtain a job that I could do while my daughter was at daycare before I'd get approved for that grant. Because most of the daycare centers who accepted that grant were open Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, the evening and weekend work, the restaurant work I'd done through my 20s was not an option. Without office skills or a college degree, and in the height of a recession-era job market, cleaning houses rose to the surface as the only job that I could do. When we lived in the homeless shelter, I sat up late at night, long after my daughter Mia had gone to sleep. As the night stretched out before me, I tried to envision our future, our happy life. There would be a large yard of freshly cut grass and a tree with a swing hanging from a branch. Our house wouldn't be terribly big, but large enough that Mia could run around in it, maybe with a dog, and build forts beneath the rungs of furniture. Mia would not only have her own room, but her own bathroom. Maybe we'd have a guest room or an office where I could write, a real couch and a matching love seat, a garage. At the time, I thought if we only had those things, we would be happy. But after months of working as a maid, I saw that most of my clients had these things, the things that I had yearned for in those dark nights sitting up alone, and they did not seem to enjoy life any more than I did. Most worked long hours, away from the homes they fought so hard to pay for. I began to pay attention to the items that cluttered their kitchen counters, the receipts for rugs that were as expensive as my car, the bill for the dry cleaner that would replace half my wardrobe. In contrast, I divided my hourly wages into 15-minute increments to add up how much of my physical work paid for the money it took in gas to get to work in the first place. Most days I spent at least an hour. But my clients seemed to work long hours to pay for unused spaces, lavish cars, boats, and sofas they covered with a sheet. They worked to pay the cleaning service they'd hired, who paid me just above minimum wage to keep it all spotless, in place, and acceptable. While they paid for my work like some magical cleaning fairy, I was anything but that, shuffling through their house like a nameless ghost. My face had an ashen hue from lack of sun, dark circles under my eyes from lack of sleep. Usually my hair was unwashed, pulled back into a low ponytail under a handkerchief. I wore pairs of Carhartt cargo pants until the holes in the knees were unsightly enough that my boss told me to replace them. But my job offered me little money to spend on clothes, even for work. I worked through illnesses and brought my daughter to daycare when she was sick and should have been at home with me. My job offered no sick pay, no vacation days, no foreseeable increase in wage, and yet I begged to work more. Wages lost from missed work hours could rarely be made up, and if I missed too many, I risked being fired. My car's reliability was vital, since a broken hose, a faulty thermostat, or even a flat tire could throw us off, knock us backward, and send us teetering, falling toward homelessness again. I relied on government assistance to survive. Child care grants, food stamps, Medicaid, utility assistance, even gas vouchers were absolutely vital and made it possible to use my limited income on rent, because the rent always eats first. There were days in the month before the food stamp money was replenished that I went to bed hungry or ate very little. After paying bills, I often had no more than $20 left for the month. No matter how hard I worked, it never felt like it was enough, or even that I was enough. We lived and we survived in that careful imbalance, and that was my unwitnessed existence as I polished another's to make theirs appear perfect. This is the reality for millions of workers in America struggling to survive on minimum wage. There is a myth in this country that if you work hard, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, you'll make it. To those who believe that myth, they also believe that if you're not making it, you're simply not working hard enough. But the math doesn't add up when we're still fighting for 15. And estimates say a single parent would need to make at least $30 an hour just to make ends meet, or work 140 hours a week at a minimum wage job. For those who turn to the government for support, there's an air of mistrust and judgment. The stigma surrounding those who use safety net programs is that those people don't work. But in applying for government assistance, I had to not only constantly prove that I was working, I had to prove that I wasn't squirreling away money somewhere or even driving a nice vehicle. My total assets were not allowed to be more than a few $1,000s. Even a 50-cent pay increase could mean that I'd no longer qualify for child care assistance or food to feed my child. The aid application process alone seemed designed to discourage people from even trying. Paperwork was often dozens of pages thick and required access to a computer or the internet or a printer. Little things like mandatory appointments with caseworkers in the middle of the workday could present an impossible hurdle. So I've known I've wanted to be a writer since I was 10 years old. For 7 years, I scraped by as I worked my way through college in pursuit of that dream. But every time my car broke down or I lost a day of work, I felt incredibly guilty for pursuing an education, especially an art degree. I felt like our life didn't afford me this notion of being a writer. And the government did not really approve of it either. The hours I spent in class or doing homework did not count toward my required work hours to receive benefits. So, as a full-time student, working 10 to 15 hours a week with a child now over 6 years old, I was denied food stamps, punished for fighting to better our lives and my ability to support my daughter. The truth is that for those living in the margins, working day and night to survive, there is often no real path out of poverty. The welfare cliff is too high. The obstacles are simply too great. The system is too broken. In writing Maid, I hoped the book would change the stigmas that surround single mothers, especially those living in poverty. The stigmas that say we somehow deserve hardship because of the terrible decisions that we made to get us there. I hope people see how hard we work to make ends meet and how fiercely we love our kids. How much we struggle to be enough while the government scolds us, telling us we're becoming dependent on things they call handouts, but we call means to survive. I hope that even though it's just me standing up here, you'll start to notice the millions of other single parents, domestic workers, and those who are struggling so hard just to get by. The invisible housekeepers and doormen you brush by on your way out of the hotel, the janitors in airport bathrooms, the cab drivers. These people work to make our lives easier, and we are failing them by not paying them a living wage, not allowing them to support their families while we literally hand our children to them at a daycare center, asking them to support ours. I hope those listening to my experiences today begin to recognize the countless of other stories just like it that still need to be told. So even though my book is about the gritty work of cleaning houses and struggling to survive, To me, it has always been about a mother wanting what's best for her child. Right after I finished the final draft of Maid, I took my daughter Mia, who's now 12, or almost 12, that's important, out to celebrate. And we started by getting our hair cut, and the hairdresser is a friend of mine, and at one point she stepped back and said, just think of all the work you've put into this. You've basically been writing this book since Mia was born. And so afterward, as I walked to dinner with Mia, she was quiet for a few minutes, and then she said, is that why my middle name is Story, Mom? Because you were writing a book about me? And I said, no, your middle name is Story because your dad didn't want that to be your first name. Which, come to think of it, is good because you would have ended up with the name Storyland. But the truth is, her middle name came from a quote that I saw in a John Steinbeck museum right after I found out I was pregnant with her. As you're leaving, there's a quote painted on the wall that says, if a story is not about the hearer, he will not listen. And here I make a rule. A great and interesting story is about everyone, or it will not last. As human beings, we are all part of a much bigger story, but we must see each other, look each other in the eye. We just simply must see each other. I truly believe that the only way we'll see change in this country is by listening to not only stories like mine, but ones from people who have experienced systemic poverty, systemic racism. If we can somehow start to we'll start to see how many of us are fighting in our own way. My story does have a happy ending, but that doesn't mean I went from welfare to work. I found a wild kind of a success that most only dream about, that I dreamt about, but didn't believe would ever happen to me. I am so honored to be here, to help put a different sort of face on poverty, and to be a voice for an invisible population of people who too often go unheard. I hope that that is the part of my story and the part of our story that lasts. Thank you very much.